Hello, welcome to Season 8 of The Horrific Podcast. We're two friends who live in different places but share a love for scary movies. In each episode, we both watch the same movie on our own and then record a conversation together about what we liked, what we hated, if we were scared, and maybe even some larger truths about why people watch horror movies in the first place. This season, our theme is Make the Wives Pick. Since our wives have to watch these movies with us every week, and often complain about it, we made them pick the movies this season. If you want to see the list of upcoming films and follow along, check out our website at thehorrific.com. Thanks for listening. So when I say Alan Tudyk, what comes into your head?
Wait, you say Alan Tudyk, and I'll tell you first thing that comes in my head.
What about Alan Tudyk?
Why don't you cry, little baby? You go on, what are you gonna do? Cry, you little baby? Because I thought he was the kid from A Christmas Story.
Oh, is he?
No, just a redhead.
Okay. Anyway, I was trying to think, like, what do I know that guy from? And then I looked it up, and then I gave myself carpal tunnel on his Wikipedia page. Dude has been in everything. Movies, TV shows, video games.
Really?
He does, like, lots of voice work, yeah. So, the redhead from Tucker and Dale is also the redhead from a lot of stuff.
But not from A Christmas Story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I had never seen or processed his name in print before. But I think he's a good actor. He's just, like, super underrated.
No, he was in Rogue One. A Knight's Tale. I knew him from A Knight's Tale. I knew that one. Yeah. I was also, like, I panicked for a second thinking that you said the other guy's name.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, what are you talking... Like, then I would look even more crazy of, like, no, man, that's not even close. He's not even a redhead? So, he went to Juilliard. Oh, wait, is that just a high school? So, prominent school, man.
Yeah. He's getting some return on that investment, it seems.
Mm-hmm. Probably still paying off student loans.
Yeah, speaking of gingers, did the color seem really off in this movie to you?
Yeah. Can I tell you a real quick story? Keep it real quick.
Yeah.
I rented this on Amazon.
Same.
I did the SD.
Same.
And then it looks so weird to me that I did I like immediately stopped, like probably watched a couple minutes, went back and got the HD version. It was the exact same.
So I feel like any movie that came out before about 2016, they are indistinguishable to me. Yeah. And maybe it's just because I have old TVs, but yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck? Like, did I just, like, rent this for double the money? It didn't matter, but yeah, it did seem off at the beginning. So I also thought my internet was messed up because, like, it looked almost kind of like choppy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or hazy, you know, like it kind of, when it goes to lower quality.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But anyway, that I was just curious how much of that was like my setup versus a common experience. Sounds like common experience. This one was relatively low budget, so I would believe that whatever they did as far as like the filming them maybe just didn't translate super well to now. But yeah, we've been talking a while and we are not even into anything about this movie yet. So I am going to introduce it and then you can do your fun facts. And then we will get into the gory details.
Oh, yeah.
In 2010, Magnet Releasing brought us Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, a slasher comedy horror about two backwoods friends who are terrorized by a group of college kids while just trying to renovate their new vacation home in the woods. This movie was written and directed by Eli Craig. It was made on a budget of $5 million and brought in a little more than that at the box office. It can currently be rented for streaming on Amazon Prime Video. Also, this is the only other time I've seen the receptionist from 30 Rock on TV.
It's beautiful. I'll take your word for it. Never seen 30 Rock.
Missing out?
Is it the Tudyk? Is that him?
No. The girl Allison. Yeah. But he probably at least did a cameo in 30 Rock.
I would be willing to bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one of the movie's strongest themes is the stereotypes and how we perceive others. I'm not telling you this. I'm just stating a fact.
Yeah.
Kind of telling you. Don't know the difference. So basically, with movies that have like the backwoods characters, so for instance, like The Hills Have Eyes or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the backwoods people are always the bad guys, This one is a play on that, basically. That's kind of a fact, I guess, but it's like specifically said by the director, Eli Craig, the director and writer, Eli Craig. He kind of referred to it as a docudrama. He said growing up, he and his father would go to the cabins, enjoy fishing and other quote-unquote backwood activities. And, it just seemed natural to him. But then you had like these cliche characters in very important horror movies that portrayed them kind of backwards and evil, which whatever your media needs to be, it is what it is. Here's something I think that should happen with every movie that's going to have a duo, like a straight guy and a funny guy or whatever. Before shooting, Alan Tudyk,
like a ginger and a normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Soulless and a souler.
Yeah.
Words are hard. Before shooting, Alan Tudyk and Tyler Labine spent time rehearsing as well as just hanging out and bonding with each other. This made, in my opinion, the chemistry a lot better on TV because they have that natural chemistry now. Well, not natural. They have this chemistry now that they unnaturally made happen. What's that have to do with the movie? Don't know. Don't care. But as long as I have this microphone, you're going to listen to every damn word I have to say.
Sir, one more outburst and I will strangle you with my microphone wire.
My boy. Okay, so the design for the cabin is based off of Evil Dead and Wrong Turn. I definitely picked up like the Wrong Turn vibe. I don't know, it was just kind of stuck in my head. And, I wish that we had like a button where we could push the Wrong Turn sound for like multiple movies we do, but those were specifically based off of it. And if you look at like a side by side between Wrong Turn and their cabin, it's actually like super
spot
close.
on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, super close. And then the last one, the last fact that I have. So a couple things with the movies, or with the stunts in the movies, were like they had the idea of like swarmed by bees, but like you were running with a chainsaw and then an accident happened like that. And the wood chipper scene, those like were actual like ideas they had before they wrote it, according to Eli Craig, which I thought was kind of funny. Like I'll kind of get into this throughout the podcast, but just like the concept of like how it's kind of funny how people perceive things, or how things happen. And but yeah, that was definitely like the first ideas they had, which I thought was kind of great. And then apparently on the DVD, last actual fact, on the DVD there's a bonus feature that allows you to watch the film from the college student's point of view, complete with Tucker and Dale as the complete psychopaths.
Yeah,
it plays out much closer to the typical slasher film.
That's really clever.
Yeah, it's very smart. Like, I want to buy the DVD just to watch that.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that this one did a good job of bringing in a lot of very recognizable sort of horror cliches or very, like, iconic scenes.
Yeah.
But the way that they worked them in, exactly like what you were just talking about, where it's kind of inverting the perspective of what's going on, I thought was just totally unlike anything I've seen in a horror movie as of yet.
Which, and when it comes down to it, that's basically just what this movie is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just trying to get you to like see a horror movie from another point of view. And and we've actually, I remember when we were talking about, the short stories that we have at thehorrific.com, that we talked about how it'd be interesting to have like the point of view of a serial killer and like the serial killer and the serial killer and the person that's dying, like the perception between both of those and all that. That was a long time ago, but but I probably had watched this before that and just thought of this when I was kind of trying to talk about that. But yeah, it's just the whole idea that's that. And I used this example last week with Mars Attack, but to me, this honestly kind of reminded me of like a old school Mel Brooks style slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
Where you had like the falls and stuff that happen to people, which get people laugh, like a Chevy Chase style comedy, but it just involved death.
Yeah. Well, I had written down that this almost reminded me of like a hardcore Ernest movie.
Yeah.
Like Ernest Scared Stupid with Blood.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it definitely felt into that same kind of almost like good-natured dark humor for me, which is a weird combination. But I thought so full disclosure, we substituted in this movie because we were supposed to watch the new Candyman, but that did not get released in 2020 because, I don't know, something going on with a thing. I don't know. I haven't really heard details on it. Nobody talks about it. So anyway, we didn't get to watch that movie. So you said that Katie picked this one so that Sarah would know what an actual comedy horror was.
Literally her words, for the record.
And I loved it. I feel like that was such a proper response to Mars Attacks. It's great.
Yeah.
So, but I legitimately enjoyed watching this movie. I had seen it before, but it was years and years and years ago. And I definitely had not watched as many or like paid as close attention to as many horror movies at that point. And so I didn't appreciate a lot of the things that it did that actually were really clever and funny. Like if you're playing to that audience, like if your audience is people who have watched a lot of horror movies and picked up on a lot of the cliches and seen a lot of those iconic scenes that they recreated, it's just like, okay, this is actually way smarter than you would think, you know, just sitting through it. And the whole take on the situation is really kind of just a clever, like, take on a thing that's been done a million times, but never in this way that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely spot on. Where so when looking up this movie on a couple different sites, it's always comedy first, and then it was horror. You know, instead of saying horror, then comedy, which I think is important. But I mean, you couldn't be any more right. I think if you're a horror fan, a horror movie fan, and you're in the mood for comedy, this is the movie you should watch. That's kind of got it all, and it kind of helps play to the, like you said, the stereotypes and stuff. I mean, it was just spot on, and it almost seemed like Eli, when writing this, was like his idea, and he stuck to it, you know, and like we're gonna make almost like a what are those? Like those movies, scary movies, like the Scary Movie franchise. It's like he was going to do that, but he did it better.
Mm-hmm.
In a way.
For sure. Yeah. And I thought this one, they actually did create a very hateable villain in Chad.
Yeah.
Like his weird nasal whisper made me, like, I put in my notes, if I were on a camping trip with Chad, I would become a serial killer.
Absolutely.
But then I said, actually, no, I would be a one-time killer.
He definitely played like the asshole. Like, why do you even have friends?
Yeah.
Like, why are these people even friends with you?
Yeah, he was awful. But I mean, I think that was part of it, right? Like, you needed the like hillbilly villain as like part of this movie doing what it was trying to do, and he was kind of perfect for that. So, yeah.
And then, I mean, then you get into, you know, with Tucker and Dale, like that combo between them. Like, I don't think it happens a lot with duos, but like I would watch another movie with those two guys playing the same type of character.
Yeah.
Just because it, like, you have the one who thinks he's kind of in charge and like he's quote unquote good with talking, but then you have the other one that's just like a sweetheart, like doesn't want to go fishing because it hurts, you know, just that kind of guy, and it's teddy bear. And so it's like you have like the perfect combo, like just a bunch of asshole quote unquote kids, and you know, then sweetheart. So it just set the stage. Like, that's an easy way to set the stage, but they did it, and I felt like it worked.
Yeah, and you were talking about, like, I do think it was legitimately funny, and I thought they did, a lot of creative things, but also kept it entertaining. And so the one thing I had in my notes was like the way that the college kids kept accidentally killing themselves reminded me a lot of the maids in Ready or Not, like that same kind of just like dark comedy.
Yep.
And to have like a grisly death scene but make it funny, I feel like is like its own special type of challenge in movie making.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie pulls it off for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, the scene where he is running away from bees, but he has the chainsaw. And I get that you get where it's going, right?
Yeah.
But when they're running, it doesn't just stop at that. Like, they're running side by side.
Yeah.
And the guy who's running away from Alan's character is, like, looks over at him with, like, this confusion of, it's like it almost hits him where he's like, oh, wait. And then he runs straight into the branch and dies. And then he has like that kind of realization before he goes. It's like, that's actually pretty hilarious. Like I was cracking up about it, just like thinking like what would be going through your head in that situation. Like, wait, we're running away at the same time. Like he just passed me. Like, what are we running away from? Yeah.
Well, and then just that they came to the conclusion that the college kids must have a suicide pact and they're trying to kill themselves in the woods. Yeah. So they're like thinking they need to hide the sharp objects. And so like that was such a funny take to me.
It was innocent. It was like an innocent take.
Yeah.
So you had these guys that are just super innocent. It was just like, it was almost kind of sweet in a way where you're like, oh, they're trying to kill, and then, oh, they're trying to kill her. It just, going through that.
Yeah. I don't know. And maybe it's just because it was like two friends hanging out in the woods, and I feel like that could be us at a lot of points in our life. But the movie made me a little bit reflective. Like I feel like it's kind of a good summary of how I go through life. Like at my core, I just want to hang out, drink Miller Lite, make breakfast for people. But I feel like probably more often than not, I'm seen as being potentially creepy and backwoods. And some of that's just because I grew up in Oklahoma, but then also I haven't had a haircut since last July, and also I drink Mountain Dew. And I feel like both those things have connotations these days. So.
Well, I mean, potentially creepy is Oklahoma State motto, so
yeah,
we get it. Yeah, I get it for sure.
It's my heritage.
Mm-hmm. We stick to it. Yeah, it's definitely like that's the thing too. Like you just think like this movie when I was watching it, just thinking of like my bud, Daniel. But I also was like, unfortunately, if we were in that situation, we're also a lot smarter than they were. So it's like let's just go kind of thing. There were definitely some things I think maybe because I just recently watched it where I was like, but like with the sheriff, I think was a little much at the beginning. I get why he did it because they were making fun of like the Friday the 13th guy and stuff, or whatever other movie that has that, but it was easily gone when I was laughing and all that at what's going on, or like when Allison wakes up and she's freaking out and it's because Dale thinks that she doesn't like pancakes.
Yeah.
He comes out with bacon and eggs and you're just like, he's so nice, about it.
Yeah, I think my only criticism of it was just I felt like it lost momentum a little bit towards the end as they were trying to wrap up the story and give it the happy ending. I think I would have liked it better if it was ended on a little bit darker note.
Yeah.
But
once they brought the dog into it, though, I wanted them all to die.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it was just strictly based off of Dale's performance with that, because he was kind of crying, like, "Don't take the dog," really kind of upset about it. But I do kind of have a question about this, and I was kind of curious on what your input would be.
Go on.
Do you think, comedies like this, so we're horror fans, obviously, we got a fucking podcast about it for a long time. Do you think comedies like this hurt horror movies in the long run? So, where, for the future horror movies, where, we might not get, a good horror movie that involves college kids or high school kids. I don't know if we really had one before off the top of my head, but do you think it'll ruin potential moving forward because of movies like this and Scary Movie and stuff like that?
I don't know. I have a hard time answering that because on the one hand, with this movie, I liked it, so I want to say no. And with Scary Movie, I didn't like it, so I want to say yes. Or even like with Scream, where it's all like parodying, it's like of its own. Anyway, for this, because I don't feel like with this one, it was making fun of the genre so much as like finding a creative take on the genre.
Okay, yep.
Because like I kind of feel like with like Ready or Not, for example, like I would still consider that a horror movie, and it was really funny, but I don't think that it took anything away. And with this one, I didn't feel like it was making fun of the genre at all. I feel like this was like, obviously the people who made this were well versed in the genre and in some of the things that are kind of the tropes, but then just taking sort of those established formulas and finding a new way to tell a story with similar outcomes and visual elements and everything. I mean, I would have I think I would have a hard time calling this one a horror movie, but I mean, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
So
I would.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't think I would necessarily. I mean, it definitely has a take of horror movies, but I wouldn't necessarily consider it either. So I feel like it was comedy first. That was just real bloody. I also wondered, like, with that, so that was kind of, I didn't finish the whole question, that was my bad, but I wondered if movies like this, though, came out because of that genre being oversaturated with, too many teen dramas, teen horrors that we got in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, and so I kind of wonder, I was like, well, is it because it became too oversaturated? It's like, hey, let's take a step back. I mean, it's not going to stop what we've learned over the years of the podcast is it's not going to stop movies like that being made because they're money makers, like the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies and stuff. But yeah, I was just kind of curious. Like, it hit me when I was watching this. I was like, I don't think it hurts it because we've had some really good horror movies come out since then, and since this came out. But
I almost feel like they're almost like a little bit of a purge. Because once something becomes, like you were saying, like oversaturated or like overdone or overused or like overly cliche, then, and like you say, like people just keep doing it. Well, then if something like this comes along and just purely makes fun of it, then people probably aren't going to keep doing that. Like once you've held it up as like, oh yeah, some college kids that aren't played by college kids or, on this trip in the woods and they run into some hillbillies, it's like, oh yeah, that's already been made fun of as a trope. We probably shouldn't continue just like using, like we probably need some kind of creative twist to make this not exactly the same as the way that it's been and that people now laugh at for however used it's become. Yeah. So I don't know.
I can see that for sure. Yeah, it was definitely a enjoyable film though. Makes you laugh.
Yeah, I was really happy that we ended up having this one included in this season.
I think also maybe it might, like, because of like what you were just talking about, where they might not want to because it's become oversaturated. I think that might just make for better movies coming out. Yeah, it makes it for harder because you got to come up with different ideas. But hey, buckle up, snowflakes. Okay, this isn't a free ride.
Just take a wild swing, and Blumhouse will probably fund you.
I love those references. I love it.
If we've learned anything this season, but,
And hey, if Blumhouse turns you down, A24 is right around the corner.
Yeah, A24 just means a 24-year-old picked this. That's my favorite tweet I've seen in a long time. But, but then and one thing I did want to say too with this one is that I feel like I appreciated it as a horror fan, whereas Sarah is not generally a fan of horror, doesn't pay super close attention to it. She's seen a lot, but not willingly. And she did not at all care for this movie in the slightest. Good. Which is,
that's a little heartbreaking.
I was kind of surprised by it. Because I was enjoying it so much, and she was just like on her phone, like, is it over yet? I'm like, this, like, I'm laughing out loud, and then the other person in the room is just like totally not engaged.
That's
like,
a bummer.
Oh, well, I feel weird, but
that
what
is
else
a bummer.
Is new? Am I right?
Yeah. It's a bummer though, because I did have like this sliver of hope thinking, she might be on my same level. Like, not, like, when it comes to your wife and I, like, we like the same, like, terrible movies and stuff. I was just kind of hoping, not that this is a terrible movie, talking about the content of some movies. We're just terrible people. And I was hoping that she would find it funny, but then I thought, well, it might be close to some relatives she has,
Yeah, from Arkansas.
And so I was like, she might be offended by this, but hey, buckle up, snowflakes.
Yeah, it was also partially my fault because I told her that Katie said this is a collection of what real comedy horror is, so I think she might have been a little on the defensive to start with.
I wonder if she thought that came from me, because I was 100% my wife. And in fact, she said, did you make sure to tell him that I said that? And I said, yes, I did, baby. Yeah, yes, I did.
Well, tell her that I said it, because I don't want to get in trouble either.
Mission accomplished. Yeah, done. You no longer have a friend in Sarah, Kate.
Yep.
But overall, if you want to watch a good movie that involves horror, like a different perspective, watch this.
Yeah. And I would say, too, it's like worth paying attention to. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not just like background noise. Like if you're a fan of horror movies, watch this one close enough to pick up the references and you'll have a good time.
It helps out with like with the end game. Like it. Yeah. Yep. That's all I got.
Same.
All right, well, we'll be back next week with a movie I don't know what it is.
But I bet Alan Tudyk's in it. And that's it for today's episode. If you've listened this far, then thank you, and we hope you've enjoyed it. We're always looking for new ideas, so if you have any questions, comments, or movie suggestions, please send us an email at thehorrificpod@gmail.com, or feel free to comment on or message our Facebook page. Just search for The Horrific Podcast. Thanks for listening.
So I was relieved, though, when I had this panic that for some reason I thought his name was Bryce. And I had this panic that it was that, because it was like, that's not a good representation of Bryce's all around. Maybe Bryce with a Y. That's obvious. But I had this panic for some reason. I don't know if it's, but yeah, he